So this one today is for my vet techs. It's a little bit of tough love. And specifically, it is 3 things that you absolutely have to believe if you're ever going to make it long-term in this profession. So we love you. We need you to be here. And for some of you guys, you may not know that my academic history, so yes, I went to veterinary school, but then I spent over 6 years working in vet tech education. I actually, during that time, got my master's degree in education, and I not only helped start a veterinary technician program, but then I was promoted and oversaw 13 vet tech programs across the entire country. So I get the veterinary technology world. I know exactly what you guys have to go through. And for some of you veterinarians out there, if you don't know what the education looks like for a vet tech, you need to check it out, because what they learn is so far advanced from what we learn from a diagnostic perspective, like how you actually do those tests, the handling, the blood draws, the sample interpretation, all of that. Like with the stuff that the vet techs learn will blow your mind. And when you know what they know, then you are way more comfortable relying on them to help you, which is all part of a very healthy team. So that's my little like plug to the vet techs. We need more vet techs. The only way the veterinary profession is going to survive is with more of a team format, and the veterinary technician is critical in that role 100%. But that's not what we're talking about here today, is it? What I want to go through are 3 things that my vet techs need to believe if they're going to make it long-term in this profession. And this actually applies to everybody on the veterinary healthcare team as well. So 3 things, guys. This is it. Let's get started. Let's jump into it. The first one, you may not like it, but it's the truth. There are no victims in vet med. There are none. So how many of you does that not set very well? There are no victims in vet med. What that means is that your life doesn't suck because you're in the veterinary profession. What that means is that you're not having a bad evening because you had a bad day at work. The things that happen day in and day out are not the reasons that you're happy or sad or rich or poor or any of those things. There are no victims in vet med. You are always 100% the one in control of what you think and the choices that you make. And so what's really going on here, if you are beating yourself up or thinking that you picked the wrong career going into veterinary technology or working in a veterinary hospital at all, you just need to shift around the way that you're thinking about this. Stick with Joyful DVM, go back, watch a bunch of my videos. You're going to understand even more of what I'm talking about. But here it is at the heart of it, guys. It is not the things that happen day in and day out. It is not the things that clients say to you. It's not the things that the people you work with, so your coworkers, your veterinarians, your practice managers. It's not what those people say or do. It's not the schedule that you're dealt. It's not the pay that you have, like what your pay grade is. It's none of those things that are deciding whether or not you are a happy person and you're fulfilled in your career. It's 100% the way that you think about those things. Emotions are always coming from thoughts. Facts, so things like where you work, the money you make, the schedule, what other people say to you, those are just facts. Facts are neutral. The only way there's any emotion that gets tied to any of it is based 100% on your own individual thoughts about those things. This is absolutely the best news ever, because that means that if you get control of your mind, you can create the emotions that you want, and you can be happy despite anything else that happens. It's absolutely 100% true. So that's number 1 for you guys. There are no victims in vet med. Number 2, pet owners are not your enemy. They are not. So many times, especially when you have worked in the profession for any period of time, you're going to see cases that break your heart. You're going to see things animals come in and get diagnosed with diseases that could have been prevented. And your reflex is going to be to judge those pet owners. Don't do it. It does nobody any good at all. You're certainly not going to help that pet owner, but you know what? More importantly, what happens? It's going to make you feel really crappy. And remember, the only reason that you feel crappy or frustrated is because of thoughts that you're having. So if you are stuck in a cycle of judging the pet owners and being frustrated with when they show up for their appointments, or being irritated by the annoying, stupid questions that they ask you, then you're going to feel frustrated and irritated and annoyed, because it's just your thoughts about those things. You can't stop people from doing anything. People get to behave however they want to behave. And the only way that it impacts you and your mood and your outlook on everything else is based on the thoughts that you have about it. Again, best news ever, because that means people can do whatever they want to do. They can say whatever they want to say. They can make the choices that they want to make for their pets. Remember that their pets, their choices. And they can do all of that, and that doesn't have to mean that you're not doing a great job. That also doesn't have to mean that you have to hate your job, that they suck, that clients are just annoying, right? Because how many times have we heard you guys say that? And we've said it too. Veterinarians have absolutely said it too. It's something that we often all buy into in the veterinary world, is that, clients are the main problem. But you know what? We wouldn't have a job if there weren't clients. And there's nothing wrong with the clients at all. The other thing that I think really helps in this area when it comes to that knee-jerk reaction, that reflex to judge clients harshly for the choices they make for their pets, I think there's two things that are really helpful to kind of dial this all in and to help change your perspective. Number one, just remember their pet, their choice. You get to make the choices for your pet. They get to make the choices for their pet. And just because they make different choices than you make doesn't make them terrible pet owners. So just keeping that in mind and continuing to educate them from a place of love and compassion will go a long way. Because even if they don't make the right choices with this pet, they may make better choices with the next one. So don't ever underestimate how what you're talking about today will have impact in the future. That's part one of that. Part two is remember, and this one, guys, hear me. Remember, the worst pet owner in the world that walks through your doors is 1,000,000 times better than the one who never came. So for every frustrating case that you see, every animal that gets diagnosed with something that could have been prevented, there are dozens and dozens and dozens and hundreds and thousands of animals with those same illnesses that never even got brought to a veterinary clinic at all. They never got any of that care. So every single client, every frustrating client is an opportunity for you to educate. And it is an opportunity for you to help the pets. And if you just remember that, and you also remember that any frustration that you feel toward pet owners is totally your responsibility because the only one in control of your emotions is you, then all of a sudden it gets a whole lot easier. And number three that I want my vet techs to hear is that you also need boundaries. We often talk about boundaries in the veterinary profession. We often talk about it from a standpoint of the vets, but I know that the second that you let anybody know that you were going to become a vet tech, all of a sudden now you're getting flooded with questions. And it's almost worse because you guys are getting flooded with questions that you don't have answers for. You're not a doctor. So it puts you in like a really difficult situation. Plus then you have to kind of guess. Don't do it. You don't need to answer those questions at all. You need boundaries too. You need to learn how to say no. Now, if you guys haven't already grabbed my boundaries blueprint, do that. I walk through exactly how to set a boundary, and I actually give you some scripts that you can use, and you can use them pretty much word for word the way that they're written, even if you're a veterinary technician, veterinary assistant, practice manager, doesn't matter. joyfuldvm.com/boundaries. You can grab that blueprint and go through that. But here's what I want you to hear. You can say no. Every decision is your decision to make. So please keep that in mind and set some boundaries for yourself. Boundaries should always be set from a place of love. Don't ever set them when you're angry because they're not going to be effective. And here's the key to boundaries. Nobody can violate a boundary but you. Nobody. So when you set that boundary, if you decide, I'm not going to answer pet-related medical questions on social media, if that is what you're going to decide for yourself, that is amazing. Now let's do it. Which means the next time somebody asks you a pet-related question on social media, you respond kindly with compassion with your boundary. Hey, thanks for contacting me. I appreciate that you value my opinion on your pet's care, but I'm really working on work-life balance, and so I'm not going to be answering any pet-related questions on social media. We'd love to see you at the office, so you can definitely go ahead and make an appointment and come on in. But just know, if you ask me questions here, I'm just not going to answer. It's not that I don't care about you, but I'm protecting my work-life balance, and that's just my decision. Something as simple as that.